So I just want to talk about pattern making because I love fashion and I love sewing, pattern making, and draping. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Um, I just want to address some of the books. I did a video years ago about where is this pattern making book. I talked about this pattern making book, pattern making for fashion design. I would not recommend this pattern making book for beginners. It's very hard to understand, and I feel like this is more for advanced pattern makers. I wouldn't use this book to learn pattern making on your own because it's a very difficult book to follow. Now, this was not my first pattern making book, by the way. I never showed it because it was boring looking. It was dry. It wasn't fancy like this one. Like this book is given, like, look at the illustration. Look at the pose. That's why I got it. So this is not my first pattern making book. The reason why I find it difficult because I wasn't trained to use this book. I was trained a different way to do pattern making. So I wasn't trained like this. I'm gonna show y'all the book that is my first pattern making book that I ever used, and I was trained to use this. The reason why I bought this book because it has more patterns than my old book. It has swimwear, knitwear, children wear. It goes over more patterns and it goes over more advanced patterns. So that's why I got it. And the illustration is beautiful. Look, she's giving. Look at this. Look at all the illustration. I fell in love with the visual aspect of the book. The illustrations are beautiful. But there is a but. It's hard to use it. It's very hard, especially if you don't have any experience in pattern making. It's hard to follow. I don't recommend this book for beginners. It's very hard to learn on your own. If you do learn on your own, it's good, and you don't have anybody to train you to use this book, you're gonna take a long time to learn it on your own. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to look for the page with the bodice. This is the back. Where's the front one? Like, to know how to use all these lines, to memorize to use these lines, is hard. It's too much work. So the book I recommend for beginners is this book right here. I bought it. This is what I recommend if you're someone who want to try to teach themselves pattern making, you want to learn pattern making. Look at the bodice. Simple. It's not busy with all these lines. Look how simple this looks. Anybody could do this at home. Now, this book right here that shows you how to use the pattern, how to use a bodice, how to make a bodice from scratch. Let me look for the page. It's like hard. It's hard to follow. It's too much. It's too busy. Look at all these lines. You gotta learn how to do. It's hard. This book is easy. It's easy. It's easy to follow this how to do this bodice. It's simple. It's simpler. So I recommend this book for beginners. Okay, another book that's really good to do the bodice. Let me see if I see it. Oh boy, I thought I took. Oh yes, it's this book right here. Right here, pattern maker for lingerie, beachwear lingerie. Look at the bodice. Same thing. Look, that's easy to follow. Look how easy the lines are to follow. The only thing is, with these two books, because I live in America, they do matrix, which I call centimeters, and here we use inches. So that's the only thing that's going to be. So if you're American, it's going to be a little hard to follow them because they do everything in matrix or centimeters, right? So my very first pattern making book, I never showed it because it's old, and that means I'm old. So that's why I was thinking it was vain. It was dry. It's just as dry. These books are dry. It doesn't have the beautiful illustration like this book. Look how nice this book is with a nice illustration. It doesn't have that. It's like dry and boring. That's why I never showed it. You know, and it's old. It's an old book. These books are old. They just updated it. These are old books. These are old. And this is old too, but it looks nice. The illustration is beautiful. It has more patterns, and the illustration is beautiful. That's why I got it. Now, my very first pattern making book is this book right here. This is my first pattern making book, and this is the book I will refer to help me refresh my memory if I forgot a step. It's called Design Apparel through the Flat Pattern. The only thing is, between those three books, this book and these books, they show you how to make a bodice from scratch on paper. That's what they all three have in common. You could make a bodice from scratch on paper. But the way I was taught, both schools, Pratt and FIT, you drape on a mannequin, you take the pattern from the mannequin, you drape your mannequin, you take your muslin, and you change the muslin into a pattern paper, and that's quick. You can do that in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It'll only take you 15 minutes just to drape the front and the back, and that's simple. And then you transfer it, you get your tracing wheel, and you transfer the muslin to the paper, and then you have your sloper, and it's exact. And that's what this book does. It does not show you how to do a bodice from scratch. You have to drape on the mannequin, then you transfer the muslin to paper, and then you get your sloper or your bodice. I'll show you what the book looked like inside. It's dry, just like the other two books. It's dry. It doesn't have any fancy illustration. Let's see. I'm like, I had this book 20 years ago, so I'm like 43 now. So I was like, if I show people this book, they're gonna know I'm old. So I had this book like 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. Amazon just reprinted back. They did, because for years I haven't seen it sell on Amazon unless it's used. So if you try to get this book, most of the book that this book is selling is like they use. This is the most current book they have of this. This was written from 4 professors from FIT. Okay, but to do pattern making, you have to know how to drape. You need to know how to drape, and you need to have someone train you. It's possible to learn on your own, but it's going to take you a long time to learn on your own. It's better if you go in person, have someone who knows what they're doing to train you, or take a class so you can see all your mistakes. Okay, so I'm going to show y'all some of the pages, if, but I never showed the book because I was vague. I didn't want people to know how old I was because the book was old. That's why I never showed it. But this is what it looks like. You know, you have to drape. I'm trying to find the page that shows you where you drape. You have to drape. Yeah, right here. It shows right here. You have to drape on the mannequin and then you transfer it on paper. And from there, that's how you learn pattern making. That's how this book do it. And what's nice about that, it allows you to be creative. It By doing it that way, it helps you come with your own designs, your own ideas. So that's what's nice about the book. So I would recommend this book for beginners, you know, but it's good if you could get some training, you know. It covers heavily on the bodice, show you how to pivot right here, how to pivot the bodice. It's a lot easier to read and understand. It's easier for me because that's the way I was taught in school. So it's helpful if you got some training, but this is a good book. It doesn't have that much patterns like the other book does. Like this one got a lot of patterns. But you will learn how to do a skirt, a pants, a halter top. Let me see what it goes up to. It goes up to the kimono's sleeve. Yeah. So you will learn how to do pants, skirts, dresses, collars, you know. But I would prefer to use this book. It's a lot easier to understand. But if the book doesn't have like advanced patterns, like how to make a hoodie, or or knitwear or swimwear, if it doesn't go to those patterns, then I will refer back to this book right here. Okay. And for you to use this book, you have to know draping. Draping is very important, so you could do the pattern making. And I recommend this book. I have it in my Amazon account. Both the books are listed in my Amazon store. The book is called Design Apparel through the Flat Pattern, and the other book is called, this is the old one, The Art of Fashion Draping. I have it in my Amazon store, so I would recommend, if you're a beginner trying to learn how to do draping and pattern making, I would recommend it. If you're only going to teach yourself pattern making, then you're not going to be able to learn how to be creative. So you need that. You need draping so you know how to be creative with your patterns, and you can know how to make like new design. The only way to be creative is to know draping. Draping is very important. Way more important than pattern making. Pattern making is good if you want to do like mass production. Then you want to really get into the art of pattern making if you want to, you know, do different ranges of size. That's what pattern making is really good for. Or you want to sell to customers, you want to sell patterns. That's when pattern making is good for. But to create and make your own designs is better if you do draping. And I still kept some of my notes from school, like some of these stuff. Like these are my old notes that I had from school to learn how to do the bodice. There's very different ways to learn how to do the bodice. There's a lot of different ways to learn how to, you know, to do the bodice. But I'm just saying, let me get my book here. These are like my old notes that I kept from school, you know, of how to do pattern making. You know, these are like old notes, you know, so what else I wanted to say? Yeah, like if you're trying to learn on your own, I advise you to take a course or a class with someone that really know how to do pattern making or draping. I recommend this book, and what's nice about this book too, it's in inches. It's not in matrix. So if you are American, it's going to be easy to follow because it's also in inches. So that's nice. But I would recommend this for a beginner to get this book. And then when you feel confident, then you could get this book. But I wouldn't use this book to do a bodice because it's too complicated. It's just too hard. It's just too many steps to do the bodice, you know? So the best way to do the bodice is to drape on the mannequin and transfer the muslin into a pattern paper. Transfer the muslin onto the paper, and then you transfer it and make it into a pattern paper, which you make it into a sloper. So that's the best way. So just doing it from scratch. There's different easier way to start from the paper to make a bodice, but this is way too hard. This is really hard. I did do a video on it because at the time when I did that video on it, how to do the bodice, I didn't see nobody did it. So that's why I did a video on it. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. I would recommend these two books to learn to do the bodice. And if you have this book, then you could try to learn how to do the patterns in this book. Okay? So that is it. This is my very first pattern making book that I bought when I was learning how to do patterns. And it's a really good book. It's a lot easier to follow than this book. So I would highly recommend this book if you want to learn how to do pattern making. And it's also in inches. It's not in matrix. So that's another positive about the book. And it was written by the professors from FIT for them. Alright, so that's about it. That is all I want to talk about. I don't think you could learn pattern making on your own. Some people, they did it. They say they know how to do it on their own. It's better if you could take a course. But if you're going to try to learn it on your own, I highly recommend getting this book and these two books to start out with. Okay? Get these two books. Alright, so that's it. That's all I'm going to say for now. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.